So you use AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini pretty much every day, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder what's actually going on inside that black box? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the core technology that makes it all work.
I mean, think about it. You type in a question, and a second later, a perfectly coherent answer just appears. It feels like straight-up magic, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's a complex, but really fascinating process, and getting a handle on it is the key to unlocking the real power of this tech.
All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to start with this widening gap between just using AI and actually understanding what's happening behind the scenes.
And this right here is the absolute key. Being good at writing prompts is quickly becoming a basic skill, kind of like knowing how to use Microsoft Word. The real edge, the skill that companies are really hunting for, is understanding how these models work on a fundamental level.
And, just look at the scale of this difference. We're not talking about a little pay bump here. An AI user, yeah, they get a nice productivity boost, but an expert, someone who can build, tweak, and invent new solutions, they deliver like 10 times the value. And that value is reflected in a massive, massive difference in what they can earn. It really is a 10x world.
So where do we even begin this journey from user to expert? Well, it all starts with the most basic step of all. How does a machine even begin to learn our language in the first place?
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with this thing called tokenization. See, an AI can't just swallow a whole paragraph in one go. It's just too much data. So the very first thing it does is it chops up our sentences into these smaller, more manageable pieces called tokens. It's kind of like laying out all your ingredients on the counter before you start to cook.
This lays it out perfectly. First, you've got your sentence. AI is powerful. The model then tokenizes it, breaks it into words, and even the period at the end. But here's the really crucial part. Computers don't speak English, they speak math. So each of those tokens gets converted into its own unique number. This is the language the machine actually understands.
Okay, so we have numbers, but that's not enough, right? The number for the word powerful doesn't actually mean anything by itself. And that's where the next piece of the puzzle comes in, embeddings. This is an incredible process of turning those simple numbers into a long, complex list of other numbers, what's called a vector, that mathematically captures what a word means and how it relates to every other word.
The best way to think about this is that the AI is building this giant multi-dimensional map of, well, all of language. And on this map, words like happy and joy, they're going to be neighbors plotted really close together. But words like happy and sad, they're going to be miles apart. This map is how the AI starts to get not just words, but context and nuance.
Now, because all these meanings are just math, they're vectors, the AI can literally do algebra with ideas. So here's a really famous example. What do you think the answer is if we take the concept of king, subtract the concept of man, and then add the concept of woman? And boom, queen. This isn't some kind of trick. It's just the model doing basic vector math on that conceptual map it built. It knows that the relationship between king and man is mathematically similar to the one between queen and woman. This is a huge, foundational idea for how these models think.
Okay, so we've got how AI understands words one by one. But what about whole sentences, whole conversations? How does it handle all that complexity? Well, that's where this revolutionary architecture called the transformer comes in.
Back in 2017, some researchers at Google dropped a paper with this ridiculously simple title, and it literally changed everything for AI. It introduced the transformer model, which is the very same architecture that powers the tools we all use today, like ChatGPT and Gemini.
So what was the big deal? Well, you have to think about what came before. Older models, called RNNs, read kind of like we do, one word at a time, in order. The problem? They had terrible short-term memory. By the time they got to the end of a long sentence, they could totally forget what was at the beginning. Transformers, on the other hand, look at every single word in the sentence at the exact same time. They see the whole picture at once.
And the secret sauce that makes this all possible is a mechanism called self-attention. It's brilliant, really. As the model looks at each word, it also looks at every other word in the sentence and asks, how important is this other word to understanding the one I'm looking at right now? It then gives each word a score based on that.
Let's use a classic example to make this super clear. Take this sentence. The animal didn't cross the street because it was too tired. Now, you and I know instantly that it is talking about the animal. But how does the computer figure that out?
And that is the magic of self-attention. When the model gets to the word it scans the whole sentence and gives a high attention score to the word animal and a very low score to the word street. So it correctly connects it back to animal, understanding the true meaning. This is how AI gets a handle on complex grammar and context. It's a total game changer.
So we've walked through tokenization, embeddings, and the amazing transformer architecture. Let's tie this all back to you and what knowing this stuff actually lets you do.
Because understanding the how is what changes the game. It's what takes you from just using a tool to actually building a custom solution. It's how you innovate new ideas, solve those really tricky problems that off-the-shelf tools just can't handle, and, frankly, it's how you make yourself completely indispensable in a world that's becoming more and more driven by AI.
Look, we've really just scratched the surface here, right? We've taken a quick peek inside the engine of modern AI. But even this little glimpse shows you the incredible logic and power at play. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Now that you've peeked under the hood, what are you going to build?